Good morning to all. Yesterday we had a very wonderful session and many appreciations were received the last day. And today also very eminent people are here from different portfolios. So today Future School welcomes you all for the second session of the seminar. What next? What will happen for the print industry for tomorrow? Future School is an open platform for the integration of various technologies with the printing and allied technologies. We are in line with the print consultancy, integration of technology, and also skill development. This program is in association with the Kerala Academy for Skill Development case and also supported by Kerala Master Printers Association KMPA. Welcome you all once again, and I am transferring the mic to our moderator and technical director of Anaswara Printers, the best printer award winner of India this year. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Pradeep, for the brief intro. So we'll be right away going into the proceedings. So we've got 6 eminent speakers today. Mr.Delan Silva, who is the president of Sri Lankan Printers Association, also the MD of Luckfoil Private Limited, who is a printing technocrat as well. Good morning, sir. I guess you are not audible. If you can unmute yourself.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you. So we want to throw some light onto the Sri Lankan Printers Association. What you have been doing differently to get the attention from the industrial government bodies, and what measures have come out so far from this. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, fellow printers. I hope you are all doing well and are healthy. I must first start by thanking the numerous doctors, nurses, and the frontliners over the world who are working so hard to keep and safe during the difficult times of COVID-19 pandemic. Coming back to the topic, Sri Lankan government has given us a lot of numerous moratoriums and reduced the interest rate. That is what the industrial government has done and given us the support. In the process of printing, we are in the process of getting the printing industry to the essential service category, so that we would have an easy access during lockdowns, because we don't foresee if there is a problem in the future related to COVID, because they haven't found a vaccine. So that is a concern. So we are communicating to get essential service. Most of the printers, we have lobbied the government, and with the skeleton staff, they have been running the operations. We have got the approval of guidelines from the health ministry, so that we follow the guidelines, and there is an inspector from the health division who would come and visit the factory and give us the approvals to proceed. As well as we are negotiating with the Secretary of Labor, because that is an important factor, because a lot of printers are thinking of cutting down salaries and things, but in our laws are more favorable to employers. So we have a problem. So because of that, we are communicating with the government to release and give us direction on that. So those are things which we are doing. And as well as we are with the COVID, and we will see a new wave of thinking. So based on that, we are speaking with the government to give research and development a grant to printers to innovate printing, to see a way to go by, and aggressively promote printing for the export market. So those are things which we are doing. And presently during lockdown, like normally a fisherman don't go out to sea. When they don't go out to sea, they mend the nets. We have also given promotions of educating the printers on the lockdown period, and getting them daily slippers. So we do that with them, and then we are getting them used to a dashboard, which for them to regularly monitor the finances, because we see financial crisis is going to come. It's imminent for them to really monitor the cash flows, and the members to make hourly decisions. So we are partnering with also all the associations which are related with printing, to lobby the government. So those are things what we are doing, and because we believe that united we win and divided we lose. So those are things we are doing with the government bodies and the measures we are taking in the printing industry through the association. I believe you got it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the opening. I think the same forms have been also being, people are doing in India. We are also on the same lines. With that, we would like to go to Mr.C. Balagopal, who is a former IAS officer who has become a successful entrepreneur as well. So he founded Penpol, a blood bag manufacturing company, which has been acquired by a global leading company named Terumo. He's also the author of 3 books and are active in entrepreneurship development in Kerala and Mizoram. Currently, he's also an independent director at Federal Bank Limited. So over to you, sir. I would like to ask you, the world economy has been shackled now. Can you enumerate do's and don'ts from a financial perspective and how Indian and specifically Kerala economy will be affected? How Indian and specifically Kerala economy will be affected? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Anoop. One request, I think, can you mute some of these people because I can hear a lot of crosstalk.
Sure.
So you may have to mute some of the others who are on the. It's a bit distracting.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, and I'm very happy to be invited to talk on in a sector and domain about which I know very little. I'm a businessman who was a manufacturer of medical devices, and now I'm an investor and involved with the startup ecosystem. However, so what I would just, since I've been asked to talk about the shock to the economic system which has happened, so I think I will just dwell on a few do's and don'ts which I've been in MSMEs, and most printing businesses come in the category of MSMEs. So I think the problems are the same. I think the first point which I want to say is that it's very important that all MSMEs, all your member institutions, all of them don't live in denial. You must, please don't look on this problem as something which is like what happened in 2016. It's like what happened in 2008. You've seen it before in 2000 or 2000 something. I'm telling you, my friends, this is unlike anything which has happened in the past. You know, I'm over 60 years old, and I have seen quite a bit, and I have never seen anything like this. So please believe me when I say this. Please don't underestimate the impact and the impact on the economy, impact on your supply chains, and the damage everybody will start estimating what is the damage only after all this has passed. And number one. Number two is, it's not going to pass as soon as the lockdown is lifted. There are many predictions here saying that since the vaccine is still very far away, at least 12 to 18 months by the time a fully tested, validated, and approved vaccine of any kind is, we are likely to see it in the market. We are going to be left with managing the spread of the pandemic through social distancing, lockdowns, etc. So while a total lockdown may not happen again, it may be lifted in stages, and we may find certain geographies, certain high-risk zones, certain domains, and certain sectors may be affected. We will have to live with severe restrictions for the next, at least for the rest of this financial year, definitely, and going forward after that also. So there is this is the second. Third, we must remember, since I've been asked to comment on the economy, we must remember that in India particularly, we were already having to face a business slowdown which was happening over the last few years. The business growth has been steadily coming down. This has some factors related to the global slowing of the economy, some factors which were very India specific, some shocks to the system which happened over the last few years, and which has adversely impacted economic growth here in this country also. So already there has been a slowdown, and on top of that, this thing has happened. So it is. So my immediate recommendation is, please concentrate right now on some do's and don'ts. And some of the do's are, collect all your receivables, stress test all your receivable accounts personally by calling those customers who have to pay you money and find out when can they pay. They may not be able to pay immediately, but do the stress testing, come to conclusions of your own. Don't delegate that to somebody else, because each of those conversations will give you a sense of what is really happening out in the market. It will give you a different perspective. Second, renegotiate all your payables, because this is a great opportunity for you to renegotiate all your payables. Your rent, your lease, your other contracts which you have from various service providers. This is a force majeure circumstance. Everybody is going to understand that this is a huge problem. And if you miss this opportunity to renegotiate it, it may not come again. So you should renegotiate your payables. It's very simple. Please remember, particularly for MSMEs, but for all businesses, cash is king. So conserve your cash at this particular point of time. Now, so these are the do's. And one of the other do's is negotiate with your banks. All governments across the world are announcing relief packages for MSMEs. Please find out from your bank who will be best informed about what are the latest packages. Find out what are those packages which are applicable for you. Don't wait for somebody to come and inform you. Nobody is going to inform you. You will have to go and find out for yourself. Later on, there's no point complaining saying, I didn't know. It's your business to find out. So do that. Now about the don'ts. The most important don't, I would say, is something which may make some business people uncomfortable. The most important don't is, don't stop paying your people. Please understand, you may have money in the bank, you may have a you may have a working capital limit or a facility with the bank, you may have other resources. These people are living on their salaries which are paying them. Their EMI, their household expenses, etc., everything depends on you. So this is a huge responsibility for you. And it's a burden which, as the owner of the enterprise, as the promoter, as the entrepreneur, you have to bear. Okay. So that's the first don't which I would say. Second, don't disregard government instructions which come. Say, if there's an instruction regarding a lockdown, please, as a responsible citizen, please follow it. I have heard too much talk about, people talk as if the government anywhere is run by all incompetents and that all knowledge resides in the private sector only, and there is no expertise in government. This is, not only is it completely wrong, it's a very dangerous way of thinking. At this time, there are many pundits, many self-appointed experts, people who seem to know everything about Nipah virus. About the coronavirus, etc., which even experts don't know. But you will find on social media a lot of people coming with all their solutions, etc. Please disregard all that. It is not even worth wasting time on all that. Please follow whatever is the government people are doing, because they have access to all this information, and they have found a few which are necessary to follow. So number one is, don't second guess government, health and police authorities' instructions. Don't make their job even more difficult by arguing with them when they ask you, what are you doing out on the road, etc. As a responsible business operator, you should set the example with it. So these are the primary do's and don'ts, I would say. Do I have any, say, a couple more minutes? Okay. I just want to take one more minute on a couple more minutes on one point. As a operator of a MSME, micro, small or medium enterprise business, you must look on your business and the impact of the coronavirus and see into which of the 4 buckets.
I think I just got into another call. We will move over to Mr. Chandrasekar as IAS, who is a young and bright IAS officer in Kerala.
A call came in and I didn't know. Came in and I did not know how to mute it. That's all.
No problem. We'll just come back to you with that. We'll just move on to the next
question.
question. I think other questions are coming in line for you
yeah.
as well. Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, Chandrasekar as IAS is a bright IAS officer from Kerala. Currently, he is the Director for Employment and Training Also, the Managing Director of Kerala Academy of Skill Excellence, KASE, CASE. CASE is also associated and also supporting these sessions from Future Schools. Thank you, sir, for that. And we thank you, sir, for the cooperation and welcome you to the session as well. And I will move on to this. Being the Director, Employment and Training as well, how can we harness the true potential of the young, talented workforce in contributing to industry faster? Whether CASE needs industry experts in creating standards so as to bridge the gap faster. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, respected panel members, and thank you, Future Schools and Kerala Master Printers Association for this opportunity. Obviously, the industry's expertise in designing the skill development programs is very much essential, because it is the industry which is going to employ the skilled students. So post this COVID situation, with problem comes the opportunities as well. So a lot of online training have started happening, and before, which was never thought before, like this could be possible. If we have asked a couple of months back that whether large scale online training is possible, probably people who had knowledge on the information, the latest online platforms and all, would have thought yes. But this kind of massive online training that is happening at present, especially due to lockdown, many of the students, many of the professionals are upskilling by attending the various online courses like in EDX, Coursera, etc. So which is an opportunity. This lockdown has in fact given an opportunity for people to introspect and to attend various training programs from the best institutes across the world. So that is a positive aspect of this lockdown, I would say. And especially the industry's contribution is very much essential, because the requirements of the industries keep changing every 2 to 3 years. Even in case of printing industry also, I'm sure that things were not the same as it was 10 years back. Now a lot of digitization has come up, and new technologies are being introduced in almost all the sectors, not only in printing sector, even in the artificial intelligence is coming up in a big way. And the skills which are relevant that 3 years back are no longer relevant. That is the one of the reports of ILO says that the skills keep changing every 3 years. So in order to stay relevant, it is also important not only that already skilled people need to upskill themselves, and also the students have to undergo courses that are relevant and more industry oriented, so that as soon as they pass out of the institutes, they could work from the day one. So right now, in many of the traditional way of learning, the syllabus, the updation of syllabus takes time, and before it gets incorporated, before the change gets incorporated, the industry goes to the next stage. So that way, the industries have to train them again when they enter into when they enter as a workforce in the industry. The industry have to spend efforts for training the students again. So that way, this online platform, maybe now the students can undergo a lot of training from the companies itself. Many of the companies can conduct the online courses. In fact, in the industrial training institutes also, people undergo Zoom training, and people record their classes and they send it through WhatsApp, and they post it on the instructors post their videos on YouTube channels, and there is a great paradigm shift in the way people learn. So that is something which is going to be the new normal in the days to come, and the sooner we leverage this kind of learning, it will be better for the industry as well as for the overall development of the society as well.
Yes. Yes, sir, we do understand that. I think to summarize, I think creative learning in innovative ways is the need of the hour. That's what's been told now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And we
Thank
will move on to Mr. CG Ramakrishnan, who is the Executive and CEO of TechNova Imaging Systems, Mumbai, who needs no introduction, being one of the pioneers in plate making technology with AGFA collaboration and printing chemicals. We would like to welcome you to the session.
Thank you.
Yeah. And coming from the manufacturing side specifically, and supplying the plates in chemistry, what is the scenario there and how does it feel like? And what kinds of suggestions are there for the optimization of resources at this crisis time?
Thank you, Anoop. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep and all the panel members. Very good morning. Yes, I think Mr. Balagopal and I think Mr. Silva and everybody has already mentioned that things are quite serious. And I think I would just like to add one or two lines to what Mr. Balagopal said, that in my, and I think in all our lives of maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 years, I don't think we have experienced an impact of such magnitude. And I think management would say there is a word called black swan. A black swan event is something which is of a great magnitude of impact to business and society. I would like to say that for 2001, 2008, 2013, but 2020, this COVID crisis is the blackest swan, I think, ever that we will face collectively. So having said that, I think the impact on the printing industry is also very equally bad. I think at the manufacturing sector, where at Taloja in Mumbai, we're fortunate enough to have been able to start manufacturing from April first week, because we manufacture plates and chemicals which are considered as essential items for the newspaper industry, and newspaper industry is essential category. Therefore, we got the permission specifically from the collectorate, and then based on obviously their suggestions and recommendations and guidelines for maintaining social distancing, for ensuring proper PPE is there, ensuring that whole distancing is not only at the plant, it is also there in the canteen, it is there in the bus, and a whole lot of other things that we had to do. We were able to start our operations in a limited way from the first week of April. Having said that, I think the impact on the major segments, I think the newspaper segment is still maybe functioning between 50 to 60%, depending upon which state. The packaging unit is very minimally operating. I think there are some packaging units which are servicing the pharma industries which are up and running in limited way. General commercial printing, service bureaus, book printers, I guess almost fully shut. So generally, I would say that the business is at very low levels. I think everybody is just looking at as to what is to be done.
Yes.
And I think Mr. Balagopal has already given you some certain do's and don'ts. And he added a word called cash is king. I would like to say it's not cash is not king. Cash is king, queen, prince. I think cash is emperor in these times. So that's some of the most important thing that we need to do. But I think while we are actually recouping what is to be done, really we need to plan our entire thing in two buckets. One bucket is, I would clearly say, every organization, every entrepreneur, every MSME or big corporates has to have a 90-day survival plan. I think we have to survive in the short term. So while there are a lot of suggestions that are coming, what are do's and don'ts, I think one is very clear that we have to have a solid survival plan for 90 days. Maybe the 90 may get into 180 days, but I am talking of a short term. And then we need, all of us need to see, as the lockdown lifts and as the some amount of normalcy comes in, I think all of us will have to prepare a medium to long term revival plan. So a survival plan in the short term for 90 days and a revival plan in the medium to long term. And I think from a point of view of what you mentioned, conserving resources, I think a whole lot of things that what this impact is going to be, not in this lockdown period, after this quarter, is I think every industry, whether print or otherwise, whether packaging or otherwise, is going to have an impact. There is a temporary impact in the short term in these 90 days, mainly because of a supply-led crisis. Because I think the supply chains are broken, the supply-led crisis. But I think beyond these 90 days will be a demand-led crisis. I think really to speak of, we'll have to assess what is the drop in demand, what is the reduction in demand, what is the destruction of demand. In some cases, it will be destruction. And therefore, the entire organization will have to align itself to this market demand. I think most important thing after we survive this cash crisis in the short term is to assess what's the impact of demand on our businesses and how to align the rest of the organization to this demand. So I will use a word which is again a little slightly strong. I think we have to use, all of us, in our individual lives and in our corporate lives, a word called reset. I think we have to reset the button on what will be beyond this. And if I have to maybe dramatize it, I would just say that there is life before COVID, life after COVID. And I think what we have right now is an intermission. So after the intermission, we have to pick up and reset, and maybe things like right size or whatever, all those things that we will have to do. So every resource, whether it's in terms of raw material, goods, cash, people, everything, I think we will have to very carefully recalibrate and reset post the COVID. That's what I would like to say.
Yes, I think it's a very valid point being told. We have to sit back and think now to make the 90-day plan. I believe it doesn't extend to 180 days. And of course, the reset button is already, we have to switch it on. Thank you, sir. We will now move on to Mr.C and Ashok, who is the managing director of AutoPrint Machinery, who is a commerce graduate and a gold medalist in CA. He is the founder director of AutoPrint Machinery Manufacturers Pvt Ltd, based out of Coimbatore. Welcome, sir. And being in the, can you please unmute yourself, sir? Being in the industry for, yeah, being in the industry for so long, you are the best man who knows the thoughts, emotion, and expectation from a printer. You have been talking to them all your life. So how do you address them now, sir? What confidence, how do you impart confidence into this scenario?
The first thing is, I'm enjoying the lockdown. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Because last 3 weeks have been brilliant. For simple reason that trust, a brand is built out of trust. And brand India is now shining all over the world. If you watch a news, when the number of deaths in US and number of deaths in Spain, and when you look at India and the way we have as citizens rose up to the occasion, is a very, very proud moment to all of us. And I think you should all enjoy that, because why I said I'm enjoying the lockdown is, let's assume that the lockdown has not been done on right time. We had continued like US, and one of my fellow worker has died today, or my factory of 100 people have got infected. What would have been the situation in the last 3 weeks? So we should, as Indians, be very proud in the sense that the politicians have come together. As citizens, we have been extremely disciplined. And this brand India is going to shine in the days to come. There is no pessimism in it, absolutely optimism. The next question is, we'll have to survive 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years. Okay, we will do it. But at the end of the tunnel, it's very, very bright, extremely bright. When you talk about China, there is no transparency. And suddenly you talk about deaths, he increases it by 50%. In our case, we have media where in fact, the newspaper has got 8 pages now. Maybe Ramakrishnan will be a little disappointed about it, but it has become 8 pages where we have, there is no news, nothing to cover. Everybody is happy. And we are living a great this thing. Okay, coming to the positive side, this is what I'm saying. And because of this brand, I've already started getting mails from Europe where 10 years and 15 years where I've had a connection. They never bothered about me. Now they are looking at setting up collaborations, etc., in India, because they find Indians to be more transparent and more trustworthy. So with this, I would say the future is very bright. Coming to the specific to the printing industry, one change would be financial discipline. Whenever I visited printers and whenever I've been, am I audible?
Yes, yes, very much,
Yes.
very much.
Yeah. So when I visited all over the country, I find printers per se, the financial discipline has been extremely poor. In the sense, if you ask somebody what's your fixed cost today, he may not be able to precisely tell us. What is the debtors outstanding in terms of age, inventory in the shop floor, and so on and so forth. The financial discipline, this is a wake-up call for all printers to be practice financial discipline. All the printers, when we go, they are very proud to talk about technology. I've got this machine, I've got that machine, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, how much of money you have made, what is your bank balance, and what is your liquidity, that comes later. So now is a time for a change where people will be financially disciplined. When I mean financial discipline, it is LPG. It is liquidity, profitability, and growth. The printers have to now change. Keep on growing doesn't work. The rule should be, I have to have money with me first. Second, liquidity, profitability. I should have good profits, and then later on I need to grow. So this change, if embraced, coming now on, if people start, some shakeout will be there, and so on and so forth. Last, to conclude, we must not push the government for a financial package now. The reason being, post-lockdown opening up, if the infection spreads, and if you are indisciplined all over, the cost of that spreading will become very, very huge. We now need to contain all the spread post-lockdown. Once we open up, reduce the cost on medical, and then the government should assess and give us a package. I'm sure this is a very proactive government which will give a package, and we should also judicially use the package. So this is what I had to say, and I'm quite optimistic, enjoying my lockdown. Thank you, Anoop.
Yes, yes, I think that's very optimistic words coming out from you. I think it has woken up everybody in the room, I believe. So,
well, small way what I could do.
yes, of course, we will plan for the future. Yes, it's brighter side. And moving on to Mr.Dibyajyoti Kalita, is the president of All India Federation of Master Printers, the voices of our printers. He hails from Guwahati and Assam. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
And being the president of AFMP, I think it is the toughest president I believe you are for this term. And being the apex body for printers in India, what is it that you are planning for the uplifting of our industry at this crisis time? And what kind of relief measures do you think our industry needs right now?
Yeah. So now it is already good afternoon, sir. Now time is at 12:03. So time is the good afternoon now, everyone. So this is first of my heartfelt wishes from behalf of All India Federation of Master Printers. Being a president of All India Federation of Master Printers, I am very giving to opportunity to us, to All India Federation of Master Printers. My special thanks, future schools who organized this online event today, and my special thanks to Pradeep Kolkata. So he asked me to join this type of event, but yes, immediately, because of I must come. After that, I immediately, thanks to our today, Anoop Venugopal, who is moderate this program today. And I welcome all speakers, but I meant to mention his name, Mr.Delan Silva. So he is from Sri Lanka. Mr.C. Balagopal, Mr.C. Chandrasekar, as an IS officer, we are very happy to hear today. As an sitting IS officer, he already told very valuable his speech. And Mr.G. Rama Krishnan, and Director CEO, we know each one. Mr.C and Ashok, He is the very founder of AutoPrint methodology, told his experiences. And today, what is happening is very unfortunate. Because of see, entire world, entire scientists is sitting. No any pre-warning. This is what virus. Because of the, but I am to sharing something because our last month of January, we held our Governor Council meeting at Impal. I am very sorry to say so many our members asked me, Mr. Kalita, why you are going to hold this meeting in Impal? Well, why? Because you see, Impal is very nearby, like Eastern with China, like Myanmar. No, nothing else. You come here, you mean what you are asked? Well, you come here, this is a very safe place. That time, all you know, it is that time it was very China, that is a very high time, because still that time I think no one human being in India not ever what is the coronavirus, but that time China was very high position. So rest of, you see, I'm not proud of that whole Eastern zone, but very little impact of the coronavirus. So this time my special thanks to our health minister and chief minister, they have taken very initiative. So now regarding point of business, if you want to say today, I am saying otherwise some because we are a businessman, we are industrialists. But earlier government and today government, nobody recognized businessmen. After all, we put employment generation. We are lower middle class, we are middle class, upper class. Because no doubt, we are anytime or welcome government, any slogan, because our Honorable Prime Minister already appealed for lockdown. We all human beings, we follow his rule and regulation. But we are very sorry sometimes because we have no any categories. Because we have sometimes depression. Because you see, this is not only me, I am saying for whole of our industries, all businessmen. But we need our status. We need some status. But somebody want to say that businessman is coming. But we have no status. At least government, this fantastic government, and we support to this government, fantastic, our dynamic Prime Minister. So this is my appeal from this forum. At least we have some category. Because of we are businessmen after all. Because you see government announced tomorrow or today under BPL. Because you see my also employee, under some employees under BPL, they are getting both sides from benefit. This is very important because we are the business for only 30% out of 100. So I think it will be because we have to join everyone because we are, I am not saying for our printing industry, I am saying for all sides. Because otherwise it will be for fisher. Because you see, because everything, we are giving income tax, we are giving everything. Okay, our earlier speaker, MSM is giving something else, some good opportunity. Now this time, I am not saying the government has to give 100%, so all facility to us, like salary pay, but at least government very specific should be announced. You for your kind information, so day before, 2 days before, all India Federation Master Printers, already we are over Google Duo, OB meeting is over. So we circulate all GC members, all affiliate association for their opinion. We make some nice some things, and their opinion it is coming. Not only printing, not only printers, across all industries. We send all industries because this opinion it will be very help us. And already we issued Prime Minister, Finance Minister, Ministry of Commerce, so many letters. Our all problem is soon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the points. Definitely, we will work towards that. And if you have any questions, you can directly send it to the chat box. We'll be putting the questions and asking at the end. Now we are moving on. Thank you, sir. Now we are moving on to Mr. Silva, where the Sri Lankan print industry has its own advantages and challenges. Can you elaborate some of them with the current scenario? Over to
Yes,
you.
I will first speak. Actually, it was very enlightening of the previous speakers who spoke very eloquently on things which we have to take into consideration. Taking into consideration all that in Sri Lanka, which we, in the negative part, we are having a huge issue which we have analyzed up to now, which we dropped our business by 60% on the lockdown which we are seeing, but it is counting because we don't know to when it will go down. But fortunately, the government announced that we are going to open on the 21st of April. So that's a good sign for us, because in our country as well, the government and the president has done a very good job of really bringing down the everything of the COVID infected people and the quarantine. And we through that, we had a good successful operation which the three armed forces also supporting us and doing, so which is very good. So with the 60% drop, which we have another problem of cash flow for the printers, and I think Ashok, Mr. Ashok really hit the nail on the head. The printers are not people who they are all printers and who fight for firefighting, but their cash flows and thinking of their growth in the cash side and reserves is very minimal. So that has affected, and that too. And based on that, and presently when it was shut down, the work in progress, the finished goods is a problem, which the customer will take it or not, and the payment. So there will be a cash flow problem, a huge cash flow problem in the printers, which we are addressing from town to sort out. But training the printers, as what Ashok said, the Printers Association is trying to train them, because it's a new way of thinking, and which is also for COVID has brought in a good sign for the printers to think differently on the financial side of it, which is very, very important. So the advantages are that, and the government is giving us a lot of benefits on the export sector. So we are trying to work on that, and I think COVID has given us a good sign of educating the printers and taking it to a better level, because Sri Lanka will bounce back due to the fact of the resilience which they have had, and what Ashok said again of the growth. We expect India and the countries around within the region will grow and rise up faster than the other European and developed sector. So that will bring us a good opportunity of business in the future. So that is something which we should prepare ourselves and which we are training. And this 1.5, as most of the panelists said, for 1.5 years, we have to protect the printers and take them in a journey to develop themselves and take it to that level. So that's what the Printers Association is doing. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I think to summarize, I think it is collaborative growth that you're suggesting. We should all join hands together and work for each other's benefit. Thank you, sir. Moving on to Balagopal, sir. As an entrepreneur yourself and being a board member of a financial institution, please convey whether the policies and relief measures issued by the government and banks are sufficient, and whether it's enough for MSMEs for its sustenance, and what should be the right attitude of entrepreneurs at this point of time. And you can also make it a little bit brief so that we can move on as well. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so, at the micro level, I feel MSMEs or printers, your members, etc., have to look as to what is going to be the nature of the impact of this slowdown on them, of this lockdown on them. As I was mentioning earlier, there are 4 buckets. One is the impact is a short-term impact. The second is the impact is a long-term impact. The third is where your value proposition, what service which you are offering, if there is a differentiator, whether the value proposition itself is no longer relevant, and which could happen because of many reasons. And fourth is fast adoption of new alternatives and new things. So at the micro level, there are various choices. You should, while you are keeping your business alive, while you are sort of collecting your monies and conserving your cash and looking after your operations and looking after your employees, you should also be looking at is your business model still valid? And I think that is a very important subject and which you should do. But on a macroeconomic perspective, there are, I think it's also very important associations like yours to look at. See, because there is a supply side and a demand side. The supply side, you can probably restart quicker. You know, I mean, in the sense that you can fix it. Your supply chains can be fixed. They have been severely damaged, but you can fix it. The demand side is what is going to be the real question for all sectors. And I think definitely because printing, etc., being a derived demand, because it is derived from the business, the nature of the business, it is required for publicity, it's required for business growth and business development, etc. I think repairing the damage to aggregate demand in this sector is going to be the biggest challenge. And as an association, while it's good to be appreciative of and supportive of the government, let's not make political statements here. I think you should see why in the West, why everywhere, people are so insistent. There is a role for the government here. And for restarting industry, liquidity has to be pumped in. Reserve Bank has announced some things over the last couple of days, which is very good. But there are many reflationary revival measures which are required from government. And as an industry, as an association, you have to project this, what is really required for thing. So, because only that will take care of the demand side of the equation. And unless that is addressed, you will find recovery is going to be a much slower process. Thank you.
Yeah. And how do you feel the banks can also, if you can just throw some lights on it, how should an entrepreneur approach the banks for any revival?
See this, regarding the banks, in the case of the Reserve Bank of India has already announced a moratorium, a 90-day moratorium on term loans and repayment of those loans. Now, those 90-day moratorium, I'm sure most MSMEs have already got in touch with the banks. Otherwise, you should urgently get in touch with your banks. This is already 1 month ago, I think it was announced. Now, more liquidity has been, is going to be pumped into the economy as announced by the Reserve Bank a couple of days ago when the Reserve Bank governor made this announcement. So now, how those are aggregate announcements about monetary policy and pumping in money into the economy. How does it affect your business? You should go sit with each one of you should go sit with your bank manager and see how can you use this to advantage. Can you increase your working capital limit? Can you defer a repayment schedule? Can you renegotiate a repayment schedule? Can you bring in some moratorium? So, all these things are going to affect your liquidity. I think these are things which, while policies are announced by the Reserve Bank and by the banks, each SME should go to the bank and negotiate the position themselves. This is the highest priority. I mentioned it the first round, but I mention it again. Please don't put it off. The owners of the enterprises should go. Don't send your finance manager alone. You must go. You must go and sit with your bankers and get this sorted out today.
I think that's a very valid point to note. Thank you, sir. And move on to Chandrasekar SIS, and we'd like to ask you something which CASE has already done. How you are bridging the gap between the institutes and industry tie-ups, and also can you throw some light on iStep, the new program announced, that is International Skill Training and Employability Program. How we can harness? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. As said during the first round, the industry participation or the industry cooperation is very much essential for the skill development, because only when we know what the industry needs, we can come out with programs, relevant skill development programs. So the International Skill Training and Employability Program, that has been there since the last 3 years. And the idea is to attract the best training, best industry partners to associate with the State Skill Development Mission, that is CASE, so that the industry relevant skill development programs can be imparted to the students, and the industry also benefits from that. So the idea is to attract the quality training partners, the reputed training partners in the country, who are the industry leaders, so that they come out with the industry relevant programs, and the students also benefit from undergoing the short-term training programs that are offered by the industry leaders. So this is a public-private partnership mode, wherein the state skill development mission will be giving the infrastructure, and the industry partner will be coming out with their knowledge, the expertise, and then they will be imparting the training to the students, and it will be on the fee-based model. The students have to pay for the training. And right now we have the centers of excellence in oil and rig industry in Angamali, which is the training partner is Esquire, which is a Gulf-based partner. And we also have centers of excellence in nursing. We have an institute, NICE, in Trivandrum. And we also have Indian Institute of Infrastructure and Construction in Chavara, which is being run by the training partner, Uralangal Labor Contract Society. So we do have we do associate with many of the leading industry partners, and there are also many of the associations, or many of the collaborations are in the pipeline. We also have planning to start a skill development center in the hospitality sector with the help of the CIA. So the new EOI is also going to be floated soon, so through which we are planning to attract more industry partners in the days to come. And from the industrial training perspective, the Directorate General of Training, the Government of India, Ministry of Skill Development, also emphasizes more on the industry partnerships. And we also have a project, World Bank project called Strive, which is a skill strengthening for industry value enhancement. So this is a project to upgrade the ITIs and to bring in more industry partnership or partnership. So in that, we as far as the printing industries, I also want to mention here that we also, under this project, 1 crore is given to the industry clusters, and in Kerala we have got 3 industry clusters, and one of the industry cluster is North Malabar Printing Consortium Limited, that is in the area of printing. So the project has got 4 components. Fourth component is the apprenticeship training. So the 4th component is industry apprenticeship training, and one of the industry cluster happens to be from printing, and this offers flexibility to the industry to design their own curriculum, which is more industry relevant, and they can impart this training to the students. So 1 crore is given to the industry clusters. So we have got in Kerala, we have got 3 industry clusters, one being in the printing sector, and another is in the Alua Plastic Consortium, and another is in the manufacturing sector in the Mekon, that is the Malappuram based industry cluster. So these are 3 industry clusters, and Directorate, the DGT, or the Ministry of Skill Development also emphasizes more on the dual system of training in the industrial training institutes, wherein the students have to spend more time in the industry rather than in the classroom, where the skills is given more emphasis rather than the classroom training as such. So this is the brief about the act.
Yes, we are extremely happy to hear the success stories as well, and also to hear in printing also something is happening. Yeah. We will definitely see how we can also explore the opportunities.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Moving on to Mr. CG Ramakrishnan, we would like to ask you something very specific. Being on the essential services player, we'd like to describe the best practices you adopted to keep the supply chain alive, and what recommendation you can give to print industry to follow suit, because we need a lot of raw materials. How we can really address that issue?
Yeah, thank you. Just before this question, Anoop, I just take a minute to respond back to what Mr. Balagopal said. I just re-emphasize that.
Sure.
As I see the situation, and I think if we keep it very simple, that in any crisis, what happens is it hits your P&L and it hits your balance sheet in any company. I think while most of us will be worried about what happens to the P&L, I think one sometimes ignore the impact that this crisis has on the balance sheet. I believe in such crises, the first focus should be on repairing and ensuring de-risking your balance sheet. So that's something that, because what happens is the assets that you have in such crises over a period of time gets deteriorated. Whether the receivables doesn't come fully, whether the stocks that you hold gets, extra over the shelf life, and therefore the value of the assets in your balance sheet comes down. And even from a financial perspective, if you look at any asset that you had held today, that value of that asset has eroded by 20, 30, 40% in such cases. So I think the assets go down, whereas the liabilities that you have to pay remain the same. So I think the most important is to actually focus on the balance sheet first. That's number one. Number two, I think I just want to say that again, this crisis, and I fully endorse with Mr. Ashok, I think one has to be calm and keep a very optimistic bent of mind. And I am an eternal optimist myself. But I guess the issue is now, let us take it in buckets and let us first take up the immediate issue. Because what happens in most of the corporations today is it is a liquidity issue. But if the liquidity is not handled in the next 3, 4, 5 months properly, it can become an solvency issue. And God forbid, I do not want any of the printer communities to go insolvent. And I think in these crises, we have to ensure that enough liquidity is managed properly so that it doesn't become insolvent. So I think that was my response to this earlier question, Anoop. Yes. Now coming specifically to the issue of supply chain, I believe that at a very high level, any corporation, any entrepreneur will need to balance these three flows. The first flow is a demand flow from the market. So I think in terms of, again, to assess what's actual demand and demand coming in from the market minutely on a week-to-week basis, we need to assess whether there's any permanent damage or a fundamental issue. So there's a demand flow. The second one is actually the whole supply chain flow of our goods flow within the organization. Incoming raw material, the production planning, and the outbound logistics, and the entire goods flow. And the third one is obviously invariably the cash flow. So at a very high level, I think every entrepreneur company will have to balance the demand flow, the goods flow, and the cash flow. Now coming to our supply chain, and I am happy to say that during this crisis, we were able to be up and running and meet all the requirements of all the newspapers in the country. And we are proud to say that that was done. From a point of view of what the best practices could be, I think we follow a system of what we call as pull-based system in the whole supply chain. Pull-based system based on replenishing the finished good stocks, replenishing the raw material based on what actually gets consumed. So we have a system by which we deliver almost directly, most of the goods to the printers themselves, even though we transact through the channel in many cases, but the actual delivery in many of the products, we actually go and deliver directly to the consumer. So based on that, we have visibility of what is the actual consumption at the final level. And even in those products where we do not directly deliver to the customer, we have the secondary sales channel, secondary sales and tertiary sales data coming in. So we have a good handle of actually what's the consumption happening at the customer level. And based on that, we have set the norms for our level of products. And in our language, we call all the SKUs as categorized into three. They're called as runners, repeaters, and strangers. Runners obviously mean very fast moving. Repeaters would mean some amount of medium movement, and the strangers would be the slow moving or what it takes once in 3 months or so. So based on these runners, repeaters, and strangers, we have set up certain norms for each one in terms of the number of days that is held. We have a concept of the mother warehouse, we have a concept of regional distribution centers. So based on the actual delivery that every regional distribution center does to the customer is collated on a live real-time basis, and that data is transmitted back to the mother warehouse. And the mother warehouse is in a position to actually collate that into whatever is a shipment based on, we have a point-to-point destination. So it converts each consumption into what is for each territory into a PPD schedule, that is a point-to-point dispatch schedule. And that's how we are able to actually monitor the things at the actual customer level of the finished goods.
That's for exports as well. It's the same way. Or?
Yeah, what we do is for exports, it can be slightly different because depending upon what the time it takes for each, for example, we have in the Middle East and Africa, quite a lot of customers. So for that, in terms of the actual destination there, we may not be in a position to really load on a day-to-day basis, but there we collect it sometime on a week or a fortnightly basis and compile. But for domestically, for every territory in the country, we have a daily, almost a live system from the regional districts. As far as the raw material is concerned, we have a similar system with our vendors. There are people who we are actually having a vendor managed inventory. So our inventory lies in our vendor's place for X number of days period. And based on that, the same pull system, the vendor ships it to us and bills it to us, and we operate with that. So actually the best practice here, though I will still say that we have some more improvements to be done, but an end-to-end supply chain, right from the time the actual consumption at the customer, the stocks at our regional warehouses, to the mother warehouse, to our raw material stock, and to the stocks lying at our vendors. I think we try to integrate this into a full supply chain. That's been working well for us, and I think that was one of the key success factors which enabled us to actually ensure that 100% delivery to newspaper during this crisis.
Yes, I think that's pretty comprehensive. A lot of learnings which we can adopt to our own businesses, I believe. Thank you, sir. And moving on to Ashok, sir. We want you to again take the optimistic line. We are talking about, is it going to be more disruption in the market or consolidation that can happen? And how guarded should we be to map the changes and take quantitative action? And as a manufacturer, how have you coined out to establish connect with all your customers? We're looking after both the perspectives.
Point number one is containing the fixed cost. When we talk about fixed cost, invariably we touch the salaries of the employees. Lockdown is there, so you're going to pay 50% or 75%, all sorts of debates will come. And as of now, the employee will also accept, or you being in Kerala, I don't know, you can negotiate whatever you want, you can do. But the point is, this is a fantastic opportunity for all the print owners to think aggressively on variable pay. So what you should do is, you should reduce your fixed cost in terms of salary. And for example, if it's a printing press of 4-color, you say up to 25,000, you don't pay him a variable pay every day. If he crosses 25,000 sheets or 20,000 sheets, you pay him 5 paise or 10 paise per sheet, something like that. So the first point is containing the fixed cost. The fixed cost will be major salary, and salary has to be reworked in terms of fixed and variable components. And when you look at variable components, it can be different for sales, it can be different for finance, and it can be something. I think somebody has to mute the phone, that's disturbing. Yeah. This is one. The second point is, when you go to a press, there will be a lot of unused machines lying and sporadically used and so on and so forth, occupying unnecessary space. You should really relook at it, even disposing it off as scrap, shrinking the unit and renting it out. You cannot afford something like extra space unutilized. Third, incentivize your receivables. Tell people today, if you collect so much, you take 5%. Doesn't matter. Liquidity is so critical, and you ask your sales guy saying that I have about 2 lakhs on your account. With this sales executive, you collect, take 5%, but take a salary cut off 20%. So liquidity has to be very, very seriously focused, and raw materials have to be bought in jet. You cannot afford to have a warehouse and stock a lot of raw material. This is point number one. In terms of consolidation, I believe two things. Being a capital equipment manufacturer, you should not buy any more machines for the next 2 years, and you will not buy. That's a different issue. So we need to think what we need to do with our company. But the point is, henceforth, all equipments have to be leased rather than owned. because you write off the lease 100% in the year. And second is, after the lease period is over, you have the capability to change the technology. So you should go in for a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease rather than owning up equipment in the future. It can be digital, it can be offset, it can be something else. The third is, when you want to embrace best practices, it is important that you collaborate with better units in metros. You're not, in terms of Hyderabad or Mumbai or somebody, where you can offer your stakes, take 25%, come to us, we both will work together. There'll be a bigger person in Mumbai who would like to take 25% or 10% of yours. And if you are happy to be transparent and disciplined, probably this is a good time to bring aggressive, managed-oriented, trustworthy partners into business. So this will be a change which you will have to think among your directors, saying that why not I liquidate 10 or 20% of my stakes to somebody in Mumbai and become transparent and disciplined. Coming to AutoPrint, we have a baseline called ensuring value-driven relationship with our customers. We have already started sending how to restart the machine post-lockdown. All our service engineers have been sensitized because the machines are lying idle. The rats might have come and bit some of the wires, or you might be anxious to go and start it immediately. So we have given WhatsApp messages not to switch on the machine. 1, 2, very carefully inspect the area, because if the rats are there, snakes will be there. Snakes, then you'll have to do this thing. So it will be a very, very careful post-lockdown when the machines are being started. So none of your people should be asked to switch on the machine with anxiety. The first half a day post-lockdown, the first day, you should be very careful on inspecting the machine, oiling it, rotating by hand. Electricity should never be given, and nobody should be asked to switch on the machine. So these type of information we are giving, and our service engineers, even though they are on the lockdown, but we have contacted through digital media, sensitize the trauma that the entrepreneurs are going through. So we need to reach them as fast as possible. And I believe a crisis will always give a good opportunity to build relationship if you are trustworthy. So I believe at AutoPrint, we want to go an extra mile to every one of our customers so that the post-lockdown doesn't have any more crises on the part of running the machine. I think I'm done with it.
Yes, I think it's a lot of valid points coming up, a lot of innovative thinking, and you have to roll up your sleeves, and that is what every speaker has told today. Roll up your sleeves and start working, whatever sector you may be in, whether finance or you want to get into all the sectors. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
So going on to Kalita, sir. I think with AFMP, again, with what Mr. Ashok sir was talking about, our capital equipments, we are a capital-driven industry, and we have got huge capital equipments being invested in kinds of machines.
Yeah.
Some of them are highly electronics as well. So in this scenario, how can we have a maintenance plan with outstation engineers travel also considered? We can probably discuss this with IPAMA and other leading manufacturers. If AFMP can take it up, how you can do it, and what would be your thoughts on it?
Because this is the very vital point already earlier speaker Ashok said, because it's very technical part. Because already we suggest all our printers through our communication, through our mail, at least what he said now, so at least all printers should do at least one technician person or a machine man goes to their in unit, and normally because totally lockdown period, so it is very necessary. Otherwise, it will be big problem for other already is more than 20 days is over like that. So now my request, we appeal to our printers also. So accordingly, they're doing that. And you asked me another second question also. You have to regarding our what I'm saying.
Approach.
Second question you asked me is that it was
how we can collaborate with IPAMA and other leading manufacturers.
Yeah, IPAMA, you see, IPAMA is a IPAMA president. He is also one of the governing council member. IPAMA is a very vital role because they are allied machine industry manufacturer. They are already helping lots because IPAMA is a that type of organization. They are giving full support to us because maintenance like anything, because suppose machinery kit, train technician, so many things already IPAMA giving us very. Or just a minute, so one phone is sorry, just a, yeah. So many things they help us. So IPAMA, because IPAMA rule is this time very vital. So I'm very thanks to IPAMA, to their organization, and the especially because so many things our printers, some my our colleague in this between time they face so many things problem. So immediately he is taken up. So I think most of printers help this time for IPAMA organization.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We will wait for further demands from further suggestions from AFMP.
Yeah.
We'll hope to see more of you, sir. Thank you. And coming back to again Delan Silva, we'd like to ask you on a macro levels perspective, how have you faced challenges in terms of recruitment and addressing their skill gaps, if any, in Sri Lanka? And with the current scenario, what needs to change from now on? Can you throw some light on it?
Yeah, the skill gaps have been wide a bit in Sri Lanka because the recruitment part, we have a problem of getting personnel into the industry. So that was a very big problem, and getting people who are knowledgeable in the area. So when we use the school leavers, we get a group of people whom we have to train from scratch, than the intellectual part of it. So that took a bit of time for us to do. So we have two printing schools which develop and train us to achieve that goal. Having said that, unfortunately, Corona did affect. We have a 500,000 school leavers per year. So we were trying to get at least 5% of that to the industry this time by rebranding the printing industry. So that was what we were going to do for the rebranding. Unfortunately, we couldn't have the exhibition due to that reason. So we are in the process of rebranding and getting a better segment of people. Because Sri Lanka has a very high IQ rate, which is a very good advantage for us to use. Because our printing industry had not been branded properly to utilize that type of people. So having said that, we also have this problem of the current scenario. When people, if the printers start, I have to really, Mr. Balagopal was saying something to continuously pay the salaries, which is important, is due to the fact that the trained skilled people whom we have, if we start reducing salaries, and which is the case most of the printers are thinking of doing, they would move out of the industry and go to other industries. And to get them back when we get into the real acceleration speed of our industry, we will have a problem. So we have what we have to take into consideration what Mr. Balagopal said, which is very important to hold on to the people at present, because I believe most of this region, people coming into the industry is very scarce. So we have to protect them. But in the same way, the printers want to pay a lesser salary due to the reason. And I think what Ashok said was a very important factor which we have to do of giving them incentives on the basis of output and production, which is a very good thing to do to sustain the skilled people. So sustaining the skilled people is a very important factor, because after 1.5 years, the country, the printing industry is going to boom. So that 1.5 years is the problem, how we are going to hold on. That's what we have to, which the association is also trying to see how we could mitigate, or to have a basis of communicating and sustaining them. That's where we stand at the moment. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We do understand. It's a catch-22 situation. Everybody needs to work on it. If you find a light, we will try to share everything.
Please, and what is happening is COVID is a world war, and we have a common enemy, which is COVID. So everybody is sharing, which is a very good thing. COVID has made us to share each other's ideas together, because world war, we have a common enemy.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And moving on to Balagopal, sir. So I would like to ask you about what strategies can be adopted by startups, because they are very new kids who are coming into the business, and what hat they should wear. And one more thing, adding on to that, this situation pave the way for a localized economy in future with less dependency on imports. What is your call on it?
Thank you, Anoop. That's a very interesting question. I will answer it in a slightly different way. I think one of the points which I alluded to, and even other speakers mentioned here, is how is the industry going to respond to this major crisis? It's very unclear. I don't know the printing and publishing industry intimately, so I cannot comment on it. But I think all the experts present here today who are from this industry would agree with me that it is not going to remain the same. That is, post this, even when we say the major disruption which may continue for the current financial year, post that, I don't think we're going to go back to business as usual. In other words, there are going to be major changes. These changes have to happen inside the enterprise and also inside the industry. One of the changes which I see happening, and this is where the first part of your question regarding startups comes in, is I believe that the all industry is going to find that these very large companies are going to be probably more vulnerable in times of such uncertainty, uncertain future. In fact, it was Nassim Taleb, the man who wrote about the Black Swan, who said, he talks about this quality of resilience. And he says, the larger the enterprise, the less resilient it is. The less its capacity to withstand. That sounds counterintuitive. We think that a very large company has a phenomenal capacity to a crisis and uncertainty. Actually, it is just the opposite. It is smaller enterprises which have a much better capacity. Of course, they have challenges in terms of, like Ashok mentioned, and I think Mr. Ramakrishnan and others also mentioned, that small enterprises need to really take a relook at their finance management, at their I mean, they've, I think, badly neglected the balance sheets. They've been obsessively bothered about the P&L account and not looked at at the deterioration of assets, etc. So all this has to change. But with all that said, I think across industrial sectors, MSMEs are going to be the way to go forward. MSMEs are going to, and in any case, I think most of speakers here and most of the participants will be aware, 60 to 70% of the most industrialized economies in the world are dominated by MSMEs. You know, it's not the giant corporation. The giant corporation. So size is not necessary. I think, like the dinosaurs, you're going to find size is going to be working against enterprises in the emerging era when uncertainty is going to grow. It's not going to reduce. So that's first point. I mean, about the startups, which I have to say. And the second thing related to that is, I think that there is a need, therefore, for a more collaborative models of working together. I like that suggestion of Ashok's. I think you are going to find very many interesting ways in which companies, it's not the old M&A deals alone, where one company buys another, one company swallows another. You will find, I think, some kind of associations of companies which generate synergy are going to come. It's already happening in many manufacturing sectors where sharing of resources, sharing of even R&D resources is beginning to happen. So in manufacturing, if that is happening, why can't it not happen in the printing sector? And I think it should happen in the printing sector also. So how to share best practices? It doesn't have to happen by acquiring the other company. It can happen by getting into an alliance with another company for either for a specific contract or for a specific, for dealing with a specific kind of business. So number one, startups, more startups should come in because
So you're not audible?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Now, yes.
Okay. So the about reducing dependence, I think one more thing which is going to happen, and I'm very happy, not just in India, all over the world, is that this COVID pandemic has made people
It's breaking in between.
Innovative capacities. They must develop their own innovative capacities. And I think we are going to find, instead of going and buying the so-called latest machine every time, we can improve machinery ourselves. In fact, I remember in my own industry, we innovated a lot by improving production processes ourselves. So I think you're going to find a tremendous amount of innovation happening, and that's going to come from startups as well as from existing players. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think change is the only constant that was being taught. I think we need to be innovative in change. I think we will take that as the lesson. And moving on to Chandrasekar, sir. So there's a new word which is coming out called the gig economy. How is it going to affect the work culture and the way we conduct education programs in future? How do you think on it?
Thanks, Anoop. I think the gig economy right now, more and more people are want to be independent and they want freedom, and this they many of them take short-term assignments in line with their aptitude and their skills and passion, etc. So we find many of the people moving out of the formal corporate setup or the industry setup, where they like to contribute independently by giving services what the industry needs without any much of any the attachments or that comes with the formal industry setup. So in this setup, as far as the education sector is concerned, now people, as I said earlier, more people are going into this online mode of training. If you see ADX, Coursera, etc., a lot of courses are being offered for everyone. Now it is being globalized, and it is not anyone can access the best of the content that is available in the world. So one thing is that the people will get an opportunity to upgrade themselves. If I have passion for one technology, maybe that will become absolute after some time. Then I have to upgrade and move on to the next technology, that is upcoming technology. Of course, there is a risk involved as against the stability is not there, or we have to be on the move always, and the kind of security, the job security and all is not there. But still, people are willing to take the kind of risk because it also comes with the advantages like more freedom, independence, etc. So going forward, people also would think twice to get into any formal training where they will think whether they have to spend 1 year or 2 year for getting a formal degree, or is it they can do some online courses where they can upgrade their skills themselves along with the help of technology without spending their time on in the formal educational institute. So it is also an upcoming trend that the formal degrees are losing, I would not say losing its relevance, but it's also like skills are being given more importance than the formal degrees. As long as one is skilled in a particular area, companies are also willing to look at the skills instead of giving a more weightage to what whether the person got a master's degree or a PhD, etc. So right now the skill requirements also of the companies are also becoming very specific, and it is the companies are also willing to take and try out even the people who don't have the formal training. So going forward, the technology will help in the greater transformation of the education sector, and that is going to be the new normal, I think.
Yes, sir, we do. I think it's going to be newer technologies and newer kind of roles which is going to come in the future, and we have to adapt and work it accordingly. And I would like to move on to Ramakrishnan sir with a different perspective here. We want to know whether sustainable manufacturing has been around for some time. Will it gain traction from now on? How do we approach this, and what baby steps are to be followed?
Yeah, thanks. I think that usually was a buzzword of sustainability. And I think based on this COVID, the word sustainability will gather definitely new meaning. I remember many years back, Narayana Murthy of Infosys has talked of what is it that we are talking of in terms of the organization or any corporation. He had used a buzzword called PSDP. He said predictability, sustainability, de-risk performance is what the word is. That is what Infosys was focusing on. I think the two key letters from this, sustainable and de-risk. So I think from point of view of manufacturing, or for that matter, any of those things, basically this word sustainability, people were already focusing on, given the fact that the planet, the environment, the health and the safety was all coming on the thing. So this COVID has brought a big impact on the health. There was earlier the issue of environment, which is all the more important with this global warming, climate change, and all these factors. So the word of health, the word of environment, and the word of safety, and the word of energy. So I think going forward, I think we definitely need to, every corporation, manufacturing or otherwise, need to focus on these. Energy conservation is very critical. Environmental protection, and obviously the ability for you to consume much less than what we actually deliver. Obviously the word key aspect of carbon footprint is there. So going forward, I would say that every organization would have a new focus, I think, on de-risking and being sustainable. So from a point of view of sustainable manufacturing, I think there are I think key fundamental issues, that what is the what we call as waste. So I think the issue of waste elimination, if not elimination, then definitely a great amount of waste reduction. So I think that's one of the component. Secondly, is the ability to actually consume much lesser amount of fossil fuel. So can you reduce the amount of fossil fuel consumption in your organization, in your manufacturing? Can you reduce obviously the different types of pollution, whether it is water pollution, air pollution, noise pollution? I think more and more stricter compliance is happening in the government, and I think many corporations and many industrial clusters are moving into what they call a zero liquid discharge zone. And we at Taloja is already on a zero liquid discharge zone, and we have taken a lot of things to get ourselves into a ZLD category, so that we don't discharge anything down to the earth, and therefore the issue. So that's as far as reduction is concerned. We also do a lot of recycling. So I think there is a question of water recycling, whether it's in terms of any other raw materials that can be recycled. Obviously, the whole issue of plastic ban, which has been there, and therefore how we can recycle that to the extent of, and then ensure that those biodegradable, non-biodegradable items are not put into the earth. So that's as far as recycling is concerned. We also do recovery of energy, obviously through whatever else processes that we do. So anything that energy is not permanently lost in some way, which can be re-energized back. So a whole lot of such things, I think, would be the way the word of recycling, reuse, reduce, optimize. I think every single ingredient of a raw material and utilities that we consume, whether it is power, water, packaging, plastics, everything, I think the word, all of this will be much more relevant, because we know that this is a big jolt that has come up. This jolt has come up from a point of view of saying that despite all the technology profess that we have, I think we are all today on our knees this COVID, which we don't have an answer so far. So in the future, there will be such shocks which will come in from environment. There will be shocks coming in from energy. There will be shocks coming in from other natural resources. So I think sustainable manufacturing and de-risking ourselves is the only way to go forward.
Okay, I think wherever we can to reduce, I think we are reducing the resources and we are saving the planet. I think that is the takeaway. We will definitely. And I think we would like to thank everyone. I think it has been almost, we are reaching 1 o'clock. We would like to move on to the question and answer sessions. I believe everybody has got a different perspective out of the session. And I would like to move on to a gentleman who has been the past president of AIFMB, Mr. Joshi. He has some questions for the panelists. We welcome you, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, please do. Please do continue, yeah.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for this excellent session. And after listening to all the speakers today, now my question is, as being a printer, what I should do? I'm really thankful to Mr. Ashokan for the suggestions he has given to the printer brothers that what they should do to survive. Because at this moment, the foremost point is to survive after this, with this problem. So once I open my printing press, am I going to be comfortable? Am I going to do the business? Am I going to run my regular 8 hours working? These many questions are rather killing me every day. See, the first of all and foremost is the working capital scarcity, what we are going to face. From that point of view, I always, I insist that there should be help from the government. I'll just narrate that what I expect, what a printer expects. First, the interest rate by the bank should be reduced to 3 to 2% only for further 6 months. Moratorium period should be extended for 6 months. This is very important because if you want to survive, then now we are not going to get our outstanding payment immediately. We don't have money, we don't have any production, so there is no business. So cash crunch is there. If government is going to support us in this fashion, we will survive. Otherwise, many printing presses will have to close down because of this big cash crunch problem. And naturally, Mr. Ashokan has rightly explained that what we should do, what we should try to come down with our plan, we should redesign the plan, find out the basic requirements. I fully agree with him. Rightly suggested by Mr. RK from TechNova that we should have a plan for 3 months, short-term plan for survival, and then for the future running of any enterprise. So I think this is what I want to contribute today because many other guests are going to speak. So thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for your kind words. And now we have some questions from the audience. Thank you for your patient listening. To RK, sir, the first question. And how raw material prices will behave post-COVID scenario? What are the factors printers shall consider in such a scenario? The question is from D. Dinagarane from Sivalayam Print Pack.
Yeah, I think, see, today, Anoop, thank you for the question. So, I think it is too early to right now predict, but, you know, I'll just generally tell you the trends that commodity prices are coming down. So that is one factor, whether it is oil, whether it is other base metals. So that's one. Number two, at the same time, the exchange rate is getting weaker because obviously as we are moving on to this thing, the every other exchange rate is coming weaker and the dollar is strengthening. Thirdly, the issue related to actually availability of certain and the availability of the supply chain to get back to the business. So based on availability and based on commodity pricing and currency pricing, I guess we would see it. So my expectation is that over a period of time, at least, because if the demand goes down, the prices may remain softer. If demand goes down and supply goes down much more, then obviously prices may become a little harder. But I think that is something that we will evaluate it. I think it's too early to say because the lockdown is still not taken off. I think what we will have to watch in the month of May based on that event. So that's my assessment as of now.
Okay, so currently it is not on a predictable basis. We need to watch out and take it. Yes, sir. Thank you. One more question to Ashok, sir. So how do you're talking about leasing machines concept. So how do you see that manufacturers adopt this trend? And how much stress it will create on our P&L and balance sheet of printers? Which are the negative sides of this leasing on a longer term, if any? The question is from Rajesh of Rajashri Industries. Over to you.
Well, in terms of, see, the technology is rapidly changing. So owning up a machine and then you don't know whether you get the resale value. So the idea is you'll have to, it will be a little expensive, but the good thing is you have an option every 3 years or every 5 years to change the technology, because the technology is going to change quite often. So you have a possibility of a change, one. Second, if the lease is not going, then you can return back the machine. There will be some, definitely pros and cons are there, but definitely you're de-risking yourself much better, like such type of jugs.
Is there any particular model or something which can come up? Like some manufacturers are leasing out softwares nowadays. So
yes.
But in
So
that
what we could do is, there are quite a few people available for working out on lease. So we can talk to them because our machines are being leased to quite a few people, and they are interested in leasing it now. So we could work it out and come back to you on case to case basis.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And one question to Chandrasekar, sir.
Yeah.
One of the major challenges today for print and packaging industries pan-India is getting skilled and knowledgeable workforce. So don't you think it is high time we seriously look at creating a skill program specific for our industry in order to compete with international companies setting shops in India, who are setting shops in India? Who shall take lead in this initiative? That is it.
Yeah, obviously the skill gap in the printing industry, for that matter, any industry, the skill gap exists in almost all the industries. On the one hand, the industry is struggling to find a skilled workforce. On the other hand, we have people who are searching for employment, and if we could bridge the gap, that is where the role of the government also comes in. The various state skill development missions of various states and the government of India initiatives come in to address the skill gap. So just like other industries, printing industry also needs skilled workforce. So the states can take steps to, with the help of the industry partners, probably the industry printing associations, like the eminent persons who have discussed, like people with the experts also come together to we can find out the areas what the industry needs. So the areas where the skill shortage is there, those areas can be taken up, and special skill development programs can be designed for various levels. The people at the lower level, like the worker level, and at the middle management level, and at the senior level, what are the different types of skill sets the industry needs. So those things can be taken up, and then a special curriculum for each industry can be designed, and maybe a short-term courses depending on the skill level required, maybe a 3-month course or 6 months course or a 1-year course that can be imparted to the students, and that's how the skill gap can be addressed. And obviously the international players who are leading in each industry can also pitch in. They can give their expertise. More amount of knowledge sharing is happening these days. More companies are willing to share their knowledge, as has been discussed in this panel, in this discussion also, that more companies will be willing to, in the coming days, more companies will be willing to share their knowledge, because that is beneficial for everyone. So more amount of collaboration will also be happening, not only in the operations, but also in the training and skill development as well. So that is something we have to look forward to, and all the stakeholders can come together and address the skill gap in not only in the printing industry, but also in all the other industries as well.
Okay, I think that's thinking thoughts. We need to really work on it, and we will definitely come back to you for your help. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask a question to Mr.Delan Silva. Hello, sir. Yes, sir. And we'd like to know what are the innovative trends which are shaping up in Sri Lanka in terms of demand for print consumers or printed products, according to your understanding.
Actually, the association this time, unfortunately, the COVID created a problem in the exhibition. We started on going on sustainability part of it, and the association offered 1 million rupees for anybody to come with a innovative sustainable packaging. As well as we are speaking to the government of giving subsidies on IPs to register, so that we, the Sri Lankans, have the capability of designing and innovating. But it has been restricted because our IP is very weak. So now that we are going to strengthen it as well as this to get it into the level. So the innovation and the part which we are really concentrating right now to take it to that level. Sri Lankans are hoping that the IPs will be put in, the government will put it in place for us to take it to that high level. So yes, the innovation part, we are taking it, and Sri Lanka is very fast to capture high technology. And we actually, I have been the first in Sri Lanka in most of the high technologies. Even TechNova, I was the first customer for TechNova 25 years ago or 30 years ago. So the technology of people grasping new technology is very fast. So, and Sri Lanka being a small country, it is easier, and we will be taking it forward at the same way. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the knowledge session. And we would like to call Mr. G. Venugopal. He has a question to Mr. Balagopal, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning all. So, Balagopal sir, the question as far as I am concerned is something quite general, but then now whenever you ask anybody, now of course you did mention about the cash management and cash is king. Now, as far as we are concerned, when we open this company after a week, we'll be asking our debtors for our money, and for the standard reason they'll be providing is COVID. Now, I just want to know what are the questions, how do we mitigate this issues? In what way? What would be the scenario in which our recoveries could fall in place methodically, rather than only accepting the fact that it's COVID, so please call me after 3 months. So that shouldn't happen. So, what do you think?
Yeah. So, very quick answer is, in particularly in India, in Indian business, we have some very strange practices. In my business, I had to deal with a Japanese collaborator. And it took me a little time to understand that I was now dealing in a setup where delaying payment is not considered okay. In India, we have commercial managers within companies who think they are doing a great thing by delaying a supplier's bill. So this had such a profound impact on me that we changed our approach, that if I get a complaint from a supplier that his payment was delayed, I used to issue a show cause notice to the concerned person from the thing saying that what made you delay? So here in India, we think we are helping our company by delaying payment to somebody else. So there is a whole commercial culture here which has to be changed. And it's going to happen only very slowly. So to specifically answer your question, so this whole issue of receivables, it's a non-issue in a place like Japan. They pay before the due date, and reminding a Japanese company about a payment due is like, it's an insult. You're insulting that person by reminding them. Here in India, unless the date has passed, and unless you remind 200 times, you are not going to get your money. So that, like say, the crying child gets the milk, and all those kind of sayings, which we have here in India. So there's a question of work culture. So that being the work culture, I would say, and the commercial culture in our country, it's not going to change overnight. What we should do is, that's why I'm saying stress testing. Just picking up the phone and asking somebody, "Can you pay?" is only the first step. Stress testing each of your receivables is what you should be doing all the time. And you should evolve payment methods and commercial transaction methods and contract conditions, payment terms over a period of time, such that you will never have to face this kind of problem. People will always say, "Oh, that is the commercial culture. In this field, those are the payment terms. You cannot change it." I just wanted to let you know, in one of the most competitive fields, which is medical device supplied to hospitals who are notoriously bad paymasters, hospitals, we had almost zero overdues. Our transaction terms were you pay, we'll supply. And it was a highly competitive field. We had competitors. We were not the cheapest product. All that was. So my point is, the answer is not a simple answer. It is not a question of, after all, what can you do? You can only ask. You can only ask the person, please pay. But I'm saying stress testing is more sophisticated. It's a continuous process. I think let this crisis be a place where, a starting point where all your members, association, print industry association members, every MSME should decide receivables is going to be something which is going to be given top management attention. Then you will find your receivables position improves. There's no mantra, there's no shortcut, there is no software or something which is going to manage all this for you. You have to, it is a question of discipline, it's a question of persistence, and it's a question of going after it day after day after day. And then the situation will improve. I wish I could give you a...
Thank you, sir.
I hope I answered.
Thank you so much.
There's one more question aligned to you. It's more on the banking side. Many banks don't treat printing presses as an industry, and they have a lot of misconceptions about what we do and treat us different. What shall we do to change this attitude? Which level or department we shall approach in a bank to change this? Can you throw some light on this? The question is from Mr. Venugopal, coordinator of Kerala Master Print Association.
Yeah. I think this is a very, very important question. And this is where it brings me to the role of the association and working together. See, associations should not be only for, electing office bearers and conducting some training programs and probably raising some requests to or demands or wish list to the government just before the budget, which are the usual traditional functions of association. I think associations need to be really getting involved to find out, or dynamically looking at what is happening in the business. So here, you should engage with the management of the bank. This is not something where you can go to, you have to escalate it to the top management of the bank, where the strategy is thought of. And there, I think, if you make a real proper presentation and meet, and you have a few good representatives of the industry, ask for the appointment and make a proper presentation, having sent all the materials there, I'm sure if the coin drops during the presentation in the mind of the top bankers there, including possibly the managing director of the bank, you have won your battle. Because, so don't waste too much time at the lower levels, etc. I think what you need to do is for the bank to recognize that this is a sector which has a genuine credit needs, has genuine credit problems, is a business, has to be easy for, since you all know the business so well, put it forward. And in a 1 hour meeting with the top management of the bank, I think you would have educated them about this issue, which no amount of notes and petitions and reports and all that will achieve. This is the best way to do it, is my opinion.
Yes, sir, I think very validly taken. Thank you, sir, for your opinion. We have one more speaker, Mr. Ram Prasad from Fuji Films, who would like to ask a question to Mr. RK of TechNova. Hello, Mr. Ram Prasad online? I think what is supposed to ask is, will this crisis lead to consolidation of bigger printers and merger and acquisition of smaller printers? Alternatively, will this also lead to sharing and capacity of resources among printers in respective regions and formation of more formal clusters? That is the question. Mr. RK.
Yeah, thanks. I think Mr. Ashok had mentioned something to that extent, that a little more what you call as proverbial rather than the normal mergers and amalgamation. There could be a combination where people could take in a 10 to 20% stake in another company and do some sort of an outsourcing of management itself of that enterprise without outright selling or buying. I think that's a very good idea. But I guess that in this downturn, it is inevitable that some of the smaller firms will have a solvency crisis. It's not just a liquidity one, it will be a solvency one. So as in every crisis, there would be some amount of consolidation at the lower end. I think, what was the second part of the question, Anu?
Second part was like, how does the resource sharing happen between the printers,
Okay,
and
right.
will it create more clusters?
Yes, I think so, because this is already happening in, I would say, big newspapers. For example, the newspaper model is that they print mostly during night time, and they have almost capacities which are unutilized. So the newspapers have already gone in to share resources among each one and utilize some of the daytime for that. So this improves the capacity utilization of each unit. I believe that this will happen in commercial printing as well. I think the impact on commercial printing is what we believe will take a slightly bigger hit. And therefore, I think the way going forward is share resources, share capacities. I think new investment will be definitely on the back burner. And as Ashok said, that even the concept of new investment is not on outright ownership, it will be leased. So I think more and more of sharing of resources, sharing of capacities, sharing of plants, I think will be the order of the day.
Yes, I think that is very insightful. Yes. Thank you, sir. And I think we have come on to the last moments of the session here. We will like to take one more question from Dayakar Reddy to RK as well as Ashok, sir. What are the measures to be taken during the lockout time for manufacturers and for packaging printers who will be working? I think we touched up more on this. If you can add on something more on to that regard, it would be helpful. We'll start with RK, sir.
So you're saying startup, I think in terms of now with this 30, 35 days of lockdown or maybe 40 days, I think even post official lockdown, the whole concept of social distancing, the whole concept of health of employees will still be there. Because as we believe, I mean, there's one theory that this is not going to be a V-shaped recovery, where certainly based on the medical solution to this will take a year or more than that. So I think there we have to be prepared for perhaps a relapse for maybe I think again after 1 month or 2 months. So there may be sort of what we call as W-shaped recoveries. It will go back again, it will go down again. There could be lockdowns again. So therefore, I think in that zigzag method of opening up and locking down, I think the health is the biggest thing that we need to do. And for that, all sorts of things that is already recommended by the government, by the health professionals, whether it's the PPE, whether it is the sanitizing, whether it is the sanitizing of the workplace, the canteens, the washrooms, the buses in which people come into the office, all of it, I think will need extra care. And I think the HR and IR department will have to be specifically on that. So I think that's related to that. And obviously the startup of the machinery again, because during this period, you may not have 100% capacity utilization. So you have to very carefully plan the batches, whether it is better to run for 20 days at a stretch and keep 10 days off, or whether it is better to actually do every day run for 8 hours. I think it's a function of also the startup cost, startup base, and all those things. So I think that is something that has to be evaluated. But I would just say that the focus actually of everybody, I think I just have a very quick 6-point thing. Number one, focus would be the safety and health of the employees. Number two would be the demand, as I said, a marketplace. Number three would be the supply lines, whether you're getting enough supply lines. Number four, I think most important is the cash flow. Number five is actually, I would say, the community, because I think this is the time where more focus is also to be given onto the community. It is not okay only if I survive. I think it is very much required that my community and my ecosystem of printers or vendors or so survive. It is not just about my selfishness of me surviving. So I think the community. And number six, even in this situation, I think some amount of preparation for new business opportunities. So these are the 6 things I will focus on when the startup happens.
I think that's a comprehensive answer, I guess so. And it more or less summarizes the whole session, I believe so, where we are headed for.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questionnaires. And I think we had a great session, I believe so. We had around more or less 95 people moving out in and there, but morely majority we had around 90 plus panelists, 90 plus participants. Currently it is 84 participants still. So I think the session went extremely well. I would like to summarize what are the key words we got out of the session. And one thing would be common measures. We have to take our common measures and be agile, awake, and follow rules at this point of time. And we need to think of creative learning systems. And of course, for future, we need to analyze demand and load crisis, how we want to come out of this. And of course, currently we need to reset and prepare a 90-day lockdown plan. And predominantly financial discipline is the most important thing, and how to be liquid, be always on the liquid. So that's what we need to focus on. And AFMP is all behind us. They will definitely take up whatever suggestions we are giving to them, which also includes the business model reinvention plans, which is coming up, new training modules, which we can discuss with governments as well as our own facilities, things to look out for inventory management, leased models of getting business or the machines from the manufacturers. And the most important learning would be collaboration is the keyword today. And you're not just within the printer community. I think globally we need to collaborate more and try to create more opportunities for each and everyone. As rightly pointed out by many of the speakers, we have to think of the whole ecosystem as a whole, not just alone. How we can survive. It is not us. It is how we can all survive and create a future for ourselves. Thank you. I think with this, I think more or less we can close the session, I believe so. We would like to thank all the speakers personally, one by one. Mr.Delan Silva, who had spent his time from Sri Lanka sharing us a lot of insights from that different country. We felt I think the problems are the same. The only thing is we need to find common solutions now. Thank you, sir, for that. And Balagopal, sir, for a different perspective. You were from a different industry background, and you had definitely shown a different perspective to us, and we will definitely keep on thinking how to and be contact with you for future advices regarding with the banks and everything. Thank you, sir, for your time. And of course, young and dynamic Chandrasekar, sir, your inputs on employment and training, which is going to be a very tough phase with a lot of Gulf returnees coming into Kerala. I think there are a lot of things to think about, I think so. Thank you, sir, for your time. And of course, RK, sir, we know you, we love you. We are part of the industry. Thank you for your supporting words. We know you'll be always behind us for everything. Thank you. And Ashok, sir, for all the optimism, we are with you. We will definitely come out of this in a positive spirit. Thank you, sir. And Kalita, sir, thank you for joining. I think with AFMP, we are all looking forward to AFMP now for your full support and to come out of this tough situation. Definitely, we will help you out, sir. Thanks a lot. And we thank Future Schoolz and all the participants who have come in, without which this program would not have been success. And thank you for all those wonderful questions. And please do fill the feedback form as well. I would like to hand over to Pradeep ji. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the consistent participant who are eagerly waiting and listening for the valuable words from our panelists. Delva sir and Rajagopal sir, Chandrasekar sir, Dibyajyoti, Kalita sir, Ramakrishnan sir and Ashok sir. Thank you for your participation. And 25th, we have the third session, that last session. And we have a very good panel for the last session also. Venugopal Menon from Bobst, K.S. Murthy from Toyo Inks, and Kamal Chopra, the chairman of Pamex, and also the Venkataraman Nesan from Built, and also a HR consultant and head of Apollo Tires. He will be he will discuss you with the present situation of the employees. HR management is also very important in the future running of the process. So thank you everybody. Thank you for the attendees for attending such a wonderful session with us. So we will meet again on the third session on 25th of this month. Thank you very much for Anuji for wonderful moderation. So thank you for all. Thank you.
Thank you.